Okay, hi there everyone. So we are back at it again and we want to finish the biology chapters as fast as possible so that we have everything down into one fluid. So I honestly, seriously want to finish the biology because let's look at it so far with a chapter 1. So I want to write it down here in what we have been progressing towards so far. So let me, okay, great, my pages. Okay, here we are. So we do have the first chapter down, which is the cell, virus, and bacteria. And then we don't have chapter 2, we don't have chapter 3, we don't have chapter 4, and we neither have chapter 5. However, I've done this a bit before, but we do have chapter 6 down, which is the respiratory, and we do have chapter 7 down, it's cardiovascular. We have chapter 8, immune system. We do have chapter 9, the digestive system. And we also do have the excretory, the kidney and skin. Chapter 10, kidney and skin. And I believe we don't have chapter 11 and neither chapter 12. So let's do chapter 2 now. Reproduction. Okay, cool. How I like to do it is to just go over this quickly, and then we can do the assessment questions on Kaplan, and then we finish it off with our flashcards. So we do have a cell cycle which consists of these phases, the G1, which is making mRNA and proteins to prep for mitosis. So you prepare proteins and mRNA for mitosis. We have G0 or G0, as a cell will enter G0 if it does not need to divide. So if you don't need to do mitosis, you will enter G0. And then you have two checkpoints, G1 and G2. For G1, the cell divides if it should divide. So if you need to divide, if the cell needs to divide, the cell can decide for itself, and thus at the G1 checkpoint, and there is a protein or enzyme as P53 in charge for that. So we can ask, let's see, so we can ask B2 we're talking about the reproduction now. It's both asexual and sexual reproduction. So reproduction. Now let's start with our questions we have ourselves. Stuff like this, yes. So Q's, right? What is P53, and what does it do during cell cycle? And then S is for the DNA replication. So DNA is replicated at the end of the S stage. And then the G2 stage is the cell growth. So you make organelles during this stage. And then we have the G2 checkpoint, where you check the cell size and the organelles. And the M, which is the mitosis and cytokinesis. And cytokinesis is the division of the cytoplasm. Then we have growth signals. So we have a positive growth signal. So CDK plus cyclin create a complex. Then the phosphorylation of RB to RB plus P. So is this CDK, and this is for growth signals, right? This is CDK in growth signals the same. It's not, it was CD8 plus or CD4 plus for immune system. So never mind. What is CDK and its function in growth signaling? Then we have RB to RB plus P. So phosphorylation of RB. What is RB and why is it phosphorylated? RB changes shape, releases E2F. How about E2F and its function? Negative growth signals is 3 steps instead of 4. So you have CDK inhibitors blocking phosphorylation of RB, and then so E2F stays attached, and the third step is the cell cycle halting, stopping. Then we go into, that's it for growth signals. Then we go into sex chromosomes. So these are, so our sex is determined by the 23rd last, which is the last pair of chromosomes, and the XX is for females and XY for males. And X-linked disorders are males expressed, and females can be the carriers for them. And Y chromosomes are little genetic, they have little genetic information, which is in males. And the SRY gene is sorry, you're a male. So the gene responsible for us being males is the sorry gene. That is sexist for sure. And then we have the male reproductive system. So it consists of the semen, which is the sperm plus the seminal fluid. Then we have the bulbourethral glands, which make viscous fluid to clean out urethra. If you remember, urethra is the last duct in our excretory system, the last section. And the bulbourethral glands make the viscous fluid to clean out our urethra. And we have seminal vesicles and prostate gland, which make alkaline fluid to help sperm survive acidic environment of female reproductive tract. This is very interesting. So we do have alkaline fluid from the seminal vesicles and the prostate gland that help the sperm to survive the acidic environment of female reproductive tract. And the acronym 7UP is for the sperm pathway mnemonic. So S for seminiferous tubules, which are the site of spermatogenesis, which is nourished by Sertoli cells. And then the E stands for epididymis. Let's see how this is pronounced. We don't have it here, which is fine. Let's see if we can do something here. Epididymis, which stores sperm, and the sperm gains motility, and epididymis. V is for vas deferens, and it raises or lowers our testes. The other E, it's not epididymis, it's ejaculatory duct. For some reason there's nothing written in front of it. We have the urethra, and we have the penis. Then we come down to the, so again, 7UP, S is for the seminiferous tubules. Then the E is for epididymis. And then we have the V for vas deferens. I think it's vas deferens, not vas deferens. We'll double check that. And then the second E is for ejaculatory duct. And the N is for we don't have an N, so up. The U is for urethra, and P is for penis. So for the menstrual cycle, we need to know what is a menstrual cycle. So if we, for example, ask ChatGPT, what is a menstrual cycle and what is its function? The menstrual cycle is a natural monthly process that occurs in the female reproductive system. So it's natural and it's monthly, and it's a process. It involves a series of hormonal changes and physiological events that prepare the body for a potential pregnancy. The menstrual cycle typically lasts about 28 days, although it can vary from person to person. Here is an overview of the main phases of the menstrual cycle. Days 1 to 5, the menstruation. It is when the cycle begins with menstruation, where the uterus sheds its inner lining, endometrium, along with blood and tissue. This phase usually lasts about 3 to 7 days. Then we have the follicular phase from day 1 to 14. This phase, I believe it's referring to day 5 to 14. This phase overlaps with menstruation and extends beyond it. So, firstly, in the menstruation phase, the uterus sheds its inner lining, endometrium, along with blood and tissue. What does shedding mean? Not with the T. A simple roofed, the verb of a tree or other plant allow leaves or fruits to fall to the ground. Right? Let's see more. Caterpillar, we shed our jackets, take off. Too much blood has been shed, spilled. The two firms are each to shed 10 workers, dismiss. The revolutionaries must shed their populist illusions, discard. it gets rid of it, right? So you dismiss it. You also shed tears. So you weep, you get rid of your tears. So during menstruation, the uterus sheds its inner lining, endometrium, along with blood and tissue. And then in the follicular phase, it overlaps with menstruation actually and extends beyond it. The pituitary gland releases FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, which stimulates the ovaries to develop several follicles, each containing an egg. So it's not one follicle, it's not even two, it's several follicles that the pituitary gland releases FSH, and that FSH stimulates the ovaries to develop several follicles, each containing an egg. One dominant follicle will continue to mature while the other is degenerate. The developing follicle releases estrogen, preparing the uterus for a potential pregnancy. So it prepares the uterus. And then we have ovulation around day 14, which is 2 weeks into the menstruation cycle. And a surge in LH triggers the release of the matured egg from the ovary. So if you look at you can see the surge in LH and also a sudden surge right with FSH. With LH, you have FSH. And this will be the beginning of the luteal phase. So we have here days 15 to 28. So the ovulate. So we had the menstruation days 1 to 5. Phases of the uterine cycle, menses, and then proliferative phase, and the secretory phase. You have ovarian hormone levels. The estrogen peaks at ovulation, and then we have also progesterone we'll talk about. So during the menstruation, there's a pre-ovulatory phase, and during ovulation, the main follicle that is not degenerate like the other ones releases the egg. So a surge in LH triggers the release of matured egg from the ovary. This is known as ovulation. It usually occurs around the middle of the menstrual cycle. The egg is then available for fertilization by sperm. And then we have the luteal phase. After ovulation, the ruptured follicle transforms into a structure called the corpus luteum. So after the ovulation, the ruptured follicle, you call it the corpus luteum. This structure releases progesterone along with some estrogen to prepare the uterus for a potential embryo. If fertilization doesn't occur, the corpus luteum degenerates, leading to a decrease in hormone levels and the onset of menstruation. That is beautiful. The menstrual cycle plays a crucial role in the reproductive system and regulates the release of eggs, prepares the uterus for a potential pregnancy, and maintains hormone. The cycle is influenced by various factors such as age, overall health, and hormonal fluctuations. Now here's the next interesting question. So how long before ovulation should the male and female have intercourse for a successful fertilization? The timing of intercourse for successful depends on various factors, including the length of woman's menstrual cycle and the regularity of her ovulation. Ovulation usually occurs around the middle of the menstrual cycle, and the fertile window, which is the period when conception is most likely, includes a few days leading up to and after ovulation. Identify the menstrual cycle length. The fertile window is usually considered to be the 5 days leading up to ovulation, so it's 5 days prior to ovulation, and the day of ovulation itself. Sperm can survive in the female reproductive tract for up to 5 days, while the egg is viable for about 24 hours after ovulation. And then we have an optimal timing. To maximize the chances of fertilization, couples are often advised to have regular intercourse every 2 to 3 days throughout the menstrual cycle. However, if they are specifically aiming for conception, focusing on the days leading up to ovulation is crucial. And then we have ovulation prediction tools such as ovulation predictor kits or fertility tracking apps. They can help women estimate when they are likely to ovulate. These tools detect the surge in LH that precedes ovulation. What LH level should the OPKs show in order to start the intercourse? In the 24 to 48 hours following the detection of the LH surge. So once you detect the LH surging, you should have this the intercourse 24 to 48 hours following the detection of the LH surge. Okay. Now, for mitosis, we have PMAT as prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. We have ploidy of 2N throughout. So during prophase, the DNA consequence, the DNA condenses, the centrioles migrate to opposite poles, and microtubules form, and the nuclear envelope disappears. During metaphase, you meet in the middle. The nuclear envelope disappears. The chromosomes meet in the middle. So what was the nuclear envelope? I think it's the membrane around the nucleus, right? What is the nuclear envelope? The nuclear membrane is a double membrane structure that surrounds the cell's nucleus in eukaryotic cells. So in eukaryotes, the nucleus has a double membrane nuclear membrane, which is called the nuclear envelope. The three functions for nuclear envelope is the isolation of genetic material, regulation of molecular traffic, and structural support. Intermediate filament proteins such as lamins are associated with the inner surface of the nuclear envelope and contribute to the structural integrity of the nucleus. And we have anaphase, which is for apart. Sister chromatids separate and move to opposite poles. During telophase, the chromosomes decondense and nuclear membrane forms in cytokinesis occurs. So during prophase, the DNA condenses. They gather in the, so during metaphase, they gather in the middle. But during prophase, the centrioles migrate to opposite poles in microtubules form. Nuclear envelope disappears there. Now, meiosis is PMAT times 2. So you have prophase 1 and prophase 2 thereafter, and then so forth. We have non-disjunction when sister chromatids don't separate properly during anaphase. It results in aneuploidy. Let's see how this is pronounced.
Aneuploidy.
Aneuploidy, yes. So again, non-disjunction. This gives the feeling of double negative. Non is one negative, dis is another negative. We have junction, doesn't mean that it is at the end of the day a junction. So when sister chromatids don't separate properly during anaphase, it results in aneuploidy. Yeah, kind of. So it is the junction, the attachment, the separation of the sister chromatids that don't separate properly during anaphase. And it is during anaphase that they come apart, the sister chromatids. So it results in aneuploidy. Why anu? Because anaphase maybe. And yeah. So is aneuploidy called so due to the fact that it happens during anaphase? So in prophase 1, the chromosomes condense like we had it in mitosis. The nuclear membrane dissolves like we had it. The homologous chromosomes form bivalence, and the crossing over occurs. What does this mean? What does it mean that during meiosis the homologous chromosomes what was the verb? Form bivalence. Form bivalence. Is this what distinguishes meiosis from mitosis? And what is crossing over of the chromosomes? And then in metaphase, which was where they meet in the middle, the chromosomes meet in the middle. That's where the spindle fibers from opposing centrosomes connect to bivalence at centromeres and align them along the middle of the cell. And then we have anaphase 1, where homologous pairs move to opposite poles of the cell. This is disjunction, and it counts for the law of segregation. So it's disjunction because you are separating them. The junction is not available anymore, so it counts for the law of segregation. Whatever that law is, we will study it in probably the last chapter, which is for genetics. And then we have telophase 1, where chromosomes decondense, the nuclear membrane may reform, cell divides, the cytokinesis, and forms two haploid daughter cells of unequal sizes. Now we have prophase 2, where that's also interesting that it is unequal sizes of two haploid daughter cells. So they're not diploid. Is it diploid or diploid? And then we have prophase 2, where chromosomes condense, the nuclear membrane dissolves, centrosomes move to opposite poles, and they are perpendicular to before. And then we have, and why are these called centrosomes? Because we had here centrioles, right? Are centrioles different from centrosomes? And then the metaphase 2 is where the spindle fibers from opposing centrosomes attach to chromosomes at centromere and align them along the cell equator. And then we have spindle fibers contracting and separating the sister chromatids. Chromatids, now called chromosomes, move to opposite poles, and chromosomes decondense, nuclear membrane reforms. So during anaphase 2 is where the chromatids get called the chromosomes. And as you can see here, this is prophase 1. You have diploids, right? You have two different ones, and that's where you have haploids, sister chromatids of different size. You have interkinesis, which is between meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And cytokinesis happens with telophase. And during the first meiosis, the homologous chromosomes separate. So these are homologous, they're not heterogeneous. Because, let's see, why are they called homologous? And then, yeah, we'll get go more in depth for that. But let's highlight Sertoli cells. Now for the female reproductive system, we have ovaries, they have follicles that produce ova, the eggs. They are controlled by FSH and LH. We have oogenesis, which is the production of female gametes. These are called gametes, right?
Gametes.
Gametes, whatever. We have estrogen, which is the response to FSH, so follicle stimulating hormone, the LH surge. Sorry, the FSH surge causes the estrogen. It develops rep tract, thickens uterine wall, and that's why you have the estrogen surging. And You have also progesterone, which is the response to LH, and it maintains and protects the endometrium. Estrogen establishes the wall, and progesterone protects the endometrium. So progesterone protects the endometrium. And the pathway is from the egg to peritoneal sac to the fallopian tube to the oviduct, peritoneal sac, and the fallopian tube, the oviduct. We have gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH. So the gonado refers to our gonads, which is our sexual organs, reproductive organs, and tropin releasing means the hormones are released. It's a releasing hormone. So GnRH. We have FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. If you remember, it stimulates the follicle to produce estrogen, right? Right, FSH. Males, so in females, it stimulates development of ovarian follicles. So follicle stimulating. It stimulates development of follicle. So estrogen is response to FSH. It develops rep tract. And what is the follicle, right? Follicle is a bunch of those. The main one releases the egg inside it. So if we go back, we will see have follicles that produce ova. So it is our ovaries, like the female's ovaries. They have follicles, and those follicles produce ova. And also FSH, both LH and FSH act in males as well. So in males, it triggers spermatogenesis, basically for creating your, it stimulates the sperm creation and stimulates Sertoli cells. So it also stimulates the Sertoli cells which nourish our sperms. And LH is luteinizing hormone, and the luteal phase is called luteal because the LH affects the luteal phase, and the estrogen has a peak and another peak with the progesterone. So also during the luteal phase, progesterone is the main peak, which is why it's called luteal, because LH produces progesterone and stimulates the production of progesterone, and LH causes interstitial cells to make testosterone in males, and in females it induces ovulation. Okay, that's it for the chapter 2. Now we can go do some questions on Kaplan for that. So we can go here and start. This is a nice picture, I believe. Yeah, it should be like something like mitosis, since we have the haploid sister chromatids. So let's get to the questions. Which of the following is the correct sequence of the development of a mature sperm cell? We have spermatid, Yeah, I mean, it wasn't in what we studied about. So I would say the spermatogonium first, and then the zoan, spermatozoan. Yeah, let's go with D. Why not? What's the difference between D and B? Spermatogonium, spermatocyte, spermatozoan. I think spermatid is the last one. So let's go with D. But we still have our doubts. I can highlight this one. Which of the following correctly pairs the stage of development of an egg cell with the relevant point in a woman's life cycle? I have no clue what. Let's read it again. So we have. Oh, which of the following correctly pairs the stage of development of an egg cell with the relevant joint in a woman's life cycle? So from birth to menarche, which is the menstruation, which is prophase 2. So the egg cell, we have the meiosis, right, which consists of 2 mitoses, and the metaphase is meeting in the middle. The fertilization is when the ovulation is when the egg is released. So then the fertilization is when the sperm meets the thing. So from birth to menarche is prophase 2. So we have PMAT during the first stage. It's just the stage of an development of an egg cell at the relevant point in the woman's life cycle. At ovulation, fertilization. So the difference between ovulation and fertilization. Okay, I might need to stop this because I have a tea that might get cold, so I just sip on it for a break and come back to this quickly. But for this question, I would honestly go with probably. So is it from the birth of the woman? Yes. To menarche, to when you are probably menopausal, like you don't have menstruation anymore, and like your last menstruation, it's prophase 2. So if it's prophase 2, it means that your eggs are formed. Then we have also prophase 2, which is at fertilization. So what is fertilization again? It's when the you become fertilized, right? So fertilization is when the egg meets the sperm, right? And that is when prophase 2 then we have metaphase 1 for ovulation. At ovulation, Yeah, I have no clue for this one, so I will just choose B since this is the only one with the 1. I don't know. Okay, I'll be right back.